So since today is Memorial Day, we decided to walk over here at the school instead of the cemetery. Just figured it's a holiday and school's out anyway, so it shouldn't be too busy. Minus a few bikers and us, and some guys mowing. But here we are, and of course, once we start the video, then Ziva starts licking. Okay, so we did a mile today, which we're kind of hit and miss on the miles over the cemetery because we're so busy sniffing that we don't always get very far. They're more meanderings. Lots of sniffing happens over here because there's all sorts of wildlife that come passing through and other people that have walked their dogs, so there's lots to sniff. But yeah, since I figure the cemetery would probably be pretty busy compared to this, so here we are. And with the mystery bug trying to crawl in my window. Oh, it's a spider. So yeah, the other day, my last video that I did was kind of, I don't know, I was in a heavier energy. Today I'm not too bad. It's not as upbeat as I would prefer to be, but here we are. Everything goes in cycles, right? So I was actually thinking about it the other day. When I got home after the last video, you know, I watched the video like I always do and then make sure there's nothing I need to tweak before I load it. Then I was attempting to put it on my computer and it was not working and it was pissing me off. So I ended up, I was planning on going to bed a little earlier than normal, and then I ended up fighting with my computer for a while and having to go through and delete some old pictures off so I could free up some memory. And the ones that I ended up coming across were ones that had been added to my computer from my actual camera. And that whole camera thing had its own ordeal that we had to deal with when I was trying to. Okay, so I got the camera. It was part of a Black Friday deal. I was doing some Black Friday shopping with my mom, my sister-in-law, and my cousin. And leave it. People playing tennis. So we were out shopping, and of course it's way before the pandemic, and I think my ex might have been in Alabama at that time, and it was in the process of getting ready to move, or I think I'm wanting to say it was he had like a 2-month job training, or a few weeks anyway, in Alabama before they moved to Germany for 6 months. So he wasn't around. And so I was talking to him about buying this camera, and it was like a big ordeal. And, you know, my mom, my sister-in-law, and my cousin were all like, he's just trying to be difficult and complicate the evening as much as possible since he wasn't able to be around to have any kind of say-so immediately. I was thinking, hey, you're getting ready to go to Germany. What if I get this camera? And then, you know, you can take it with you, and then, you know, we'll have a nice camera when you get back. And it ended up being a big ordeal. And, like, honestly, half the time when I see the camera, it's just got some of that negative energy still attached, I guess, or at least negative memories, and therefore, yeah, therefore negative energy is attached to it. So I've thought about selling it, so it's kind of one of those things. But I did make sure that since it was such an ordeal, to get in the first place, I did make sure to take that bad boy with me when I moved out. It's like, yes, this was a fight, and I wanted to get it, and thought it would be something good for the family situation we had at the time. And it was an ordeal that complicated an evening that I was trying to have a good evening with my family. And so it just was kind of a pain in the butt. But it was like, no way am I leaving this down here for him after all that. Screw that. So I come across these pictures that I wasn't even sure what they were, on my camera, or on my computer, that ended up being from the camera. And they were pictures he'd taken of stuff while in Germany, and including from the trip that his son and I had gone over there, and were visiting in the middle of his training. So we went over his son's spring break and spent some time there. So I had all these pictures that I started going through. And mind you, it was kind of a heavier feeling kind of day anyway. And then I start in and I'm looking at the pictures and it's like, oh, I know what these are. And I was happy to delete any that had him in it. His son I was kind of torn on. It's like, you know, he was a big part of my life. I was a big part of his life. And I don't need 5,000 pictures of a kid I don't have any contact with now. And I deleted several, and like, not all of them, but it's like, when I was looking at them, it's like, I don't even like the pictures of me that are on there, other than to show that I was also in Germany for that time for that time period. But a lot of them, I was like, I gotta delete these. These look awful, just because I was pretty miserable the entire time we were together, and it looked as much. Like, I mean, I think it wasn't my highest weight when I was there in Germany with him, but it still wasn't a good time frame. And like, we weren't even married for a full 3 months, and it got to the point where I wouldn't even change my shirt around him just because he would make me feel like shit about it. And it was always just a kind of a thing. And knowing that it was mostly for the reaction, and, you know, if unfortunately people do exist that go out of their way to do that kind of thing just to make you fall in line with their overwhelming disapproval that they just shower upon you so freely. And, you know, there's been a lot of that in my lifetime in general. So, you know, but that time frame, it's like, okay, a lot of these pictures, I look like crap, so I don't even want to hold on to them. So I did delete a bunch, but it's like, I can't delete all of them because I want to remember the fact that I was there briefly. Yeah, my ex, he's gone. Like, screw that. No more any picture of him gets shredded or deleted or whatever. And, you know, I just thought it was kind of interesting that I, like, was already in, like, this heavy mood, and it almost feels like I was kind of being prepped for this heavier task that would come up, just so I could get it out of my system and just be another thing to purge and release. So yeah, we got to do that. That was not the highlight of my day, but something that needed to be done. And I still need to go through, like, some of the other folders to make sure. I'm pretty sure most of the ones with him are gone. Like, even with the wedding pictures, you know, when I don't know how long I'd been back. And mind you, wedding pictures are kind of pricey anyway. And we had she was somebody I went to school with, but we weren't really friends. We're friendly acquaintances. You know, we had her do the pictures, and it's like, okay, these are all wedding pictures. I do not want them because I would like to remember as little from that day as possible. However, there are certain things like, okay, the colors and how they went together that maybe I don't mind, you know, and honestly, I don't have any issues with any of the groomsmen, except for the one that was basically there just as a stand-in, because my ex was so irritated because I had my best friend and my two cousins, and then his little sister, and he was so irritated because he had his brother and his two best friends, but we didn't have the same number of people, and it was a huge ordeal. So we asked my best friend at the time, also my maid of honor, we had her fiance step in, and that was kind of one of the things that made us realize that we really didn't care for that dude. I already knew that, and you know, another friend and I don't know if before the wedding we had that conversation with her, but yeah, I'm pretty confident we just didn't like each other, me and that dude, and he made a big deal about, oh well, he doesn't get to walk with his fiance down the aisle. It's like, dude, you're literally a stand-in. You're not above these people. She was my best friend, so she was obviously, you know, the one most involved with helping me with anything throughout the day. But why would you be anywhere but the end of that line? But yeah, there was other stuff with that, and just drama and stupid crap, and the whole day it's like there were enough things that went off that it's like I should have listened to that voice screaming at me saying, do not do this, and I did not. So yeah, there's like, I don't know how many thousands of dollars in pictures that just got thrown away. We had a good family friend that had taken some pictures. He didn't do it for us to pay him. He just did it, you know, as a gift for us. And it was pictures of people at the reception. So a lot of those I kept. But I mean, not my ex's family, obviously. Although some of them might be floating around somewhere. You know, but the pictures on Facebook even, like I deleted all the ones that my ex was in, and then I made the album private, so I didn't have to worry about dealing with any of it. But I still need to go back through there and work on deleting those out again. You know, it got to a point where it's just like, okay, like there are some people that were there that day that are gone now. You know, one of my mom's best friends, she'd been in a picture with the guy she was seeing, and I think it was just a few months after that, she had a massive heart attack and died. You know, but like my family, I'll keep those, but there's others, it's just like, people. Hey, quit. But yeah, it's like, I feel like there are times where I go to the more, quit that, thank you, more heavy feeling, emotional, energetic places, and then it seems like then my life kind of shifts me into where I have to do some purging of stuff like that. It's like, I feel like it's lining me right up to clear it from my system. So yeah, kind of windy today. Anyway, that was just like the big thing, like, because I was so, I mean, I don't think the video necessarily portrayed that it was feeling kind of, it was a blah feeling kind of day, as much, but, you know, then when I got home and end up having to do this one thing to clear up space to make room for this new thing, it's like, as I'm thinking about it right now, it's like, oh, how relevant is that? That this whole thing, like this whole storytelling journey, you know, my cousin and I were talking about it yesterday, and she asked about, is one easier than the other? Like, is the YouTube stuff easier than the writing and for the blog? And it's like, you know what? It's like, I feel like I have to do so much of the stuff for YouTube to make space to be able to have the capacity to do this stuff for the blog, because the blog ultimately gonna be it'll go a little deeper on a lot of things, because it'll be stuff that I've never been inclined to want to vocalize as much. Yeah. But and it's like, I feel like the two very much go hand in hand. It's like the whole, you know, the whole purpose of the YouTube thing is to clear up the space to get these other emotional issues out of my system. So for the storytelling side of it on that end, but then it makes room for me to invite in more of the stuff that I want. And like more of the creativity and more of the free flow with the writing and stuff. So it's like they're very much connected. And, you know, it's kind of weird when it seems like it's, well, it goes back with my turtle totem, I think. My cousin and I were talking about it yesterday when we were skating. So, one of the things Annie said at a class that I went to was that any animals you have tattooed on yourself tend to be your totem animals, and you're connected to them somehow. So I have this one on my right ankle that is a sea turtle, and it's got like a little flower on it too. And it's funny because the guy that tattooed me for that one, he was an apprentice, and I was all excited to get a tattoo because the shop that he was apprenticing at tended to be a little pricier, but they're like amazing artists, so it's like that's completely acceptable. And since he was an apprentice, he had to offer him cheaper, and I was like, all right. He had only like so many designs he was able to do, and he was limited to, they had to be on the leg somewhere. And it's like, all right, I can make that work for me. He actually did 2 of my tattoos, so it was like giving him practice and also giving me a tattoo. And one of the ones that I got was the sea turtle. And it was the other one that I got from him. It was a few weeks later, was a raven, and it's got like a Halloween scene in it. You know, I mean, if it wasn't limited by what designs he had available to do, I probably would have gone with like a more realistic looking raven and not have the Halloween scene in it, but I still kind of like it anyway. But anyway, the turtle. So Annie says that whatever you have tattooed on your body is, you know, like a totem. It's like, okay, well, obviously it's important somehow. And, you know, there was a big span of time where I always thought I wanted a turtle. And then ended up with 4 with my ex, and ended up leaving my 75-gallon aquarium down there, which, yeah, honestly, is probably not a good setup for turtles and what they actually need. However, he didn't give a shit about that. I would be surprised if he had any of them still. But it is what it is, because he was kind of just turning me into an animal keeper because he thought it would keep me from leaving, because there was too much I would be obligated to have to do. But yeah, unfortunately, I did not turn his bathtub into the turtle tank. I wish I had. And brought my tank back. Yeah, but you know, here lately, okay, I mentioned it in the last video that I had this weird flash that kind of happened where I was pulling out of the garage and I just had like this vision of a basketball-sized turtle running into the garage, like from under the car. I was like, that's weird, but I knew it wasn't real, so I didn't think anything of it at that point, you know. And then the next day, my brother goes to leave the house and it's like, you need to come out here and see this. And then we go out there and there is a little baby turtle, like smaller than $50, I think, that had gotten smashed by the garage door. But it was several feet over from where I had this vision of the turtle running in the house. It's like, that's weird. You know, so there's like all this stuff popping up. And then, of course, it also brought to mind the fact that, okay, so Cassidy Kane with the Twin Flames 1111 page has like various meditations and stuff that you can get. And I had this one that was an animal totem one that I got recently. And it's like, all right, I'm going to see what we get with this. Well, the first thing that came to mind, obviously, and okay, I did it before this vision came to mind, before this turtle got smashed in the door, before, you know, whatever else. It just started really sinking in. And then it just made me realize it's like, so turtles are obviously important, and of course I pull them in that one animal apothecary deck pretty regularly too. And the big thing is, like for the cards, one talks about small steps, big accomplishments, and it's just the idea that if you do the little things, they eventually add up to the big things. And that's kind of been my approach to this whole YouTube and the blog and all that stuff. And, you know, especially that writing end of it, because it has taken me making writing a daily practice to really help shift other stuff so I can, you know, get it out of my system on the YouTube videos, or invite room to have the things come in to share on the blog later. You know, but it's been very much tied in with that whole, you know, forward motion. It will eventually add up, and that goes right along with that dream. It's like you have to start sharing the story you already have before more will be revealed to you. It's like, oh, that is all right there together. but yeah, I did this animal totem meditation. The first 2 times I tried it, I actually fell asleep. So, and one of them was in my office in the desk chair, and the next time was in bed. But yeah, I think it was the 3rd time that I was able to stay up for more of it and be more aware of what she was saying. And that one I actually had, it was the turtle, a rabbit, an eagle, and a tiger. Obviously, tiger's been huge, and the tiger has to do with boundaries and not letting people impose themselves on your boundaries, because that's been critical for me in knowing what's mine and what other people are trying to impose upon me. So yeah, but yeah, the turtle thing, and it's like, now I'm realizing all the ways turtles have been coming up in my lifetime. Like, we used to have a field behind our house, and in the middle of the field, which you could only see when the crops had been, whatever they do, like when the field was cleared out, then you could see that there's this little cemetery that had like all these big flat stones piled up out there, and this one tree. And when we were little, we used to love going down there and hanging out because it's kind of creepy. But if you wait till the field's been planted and has grown up, then it gets kind of scary, because then you don't really know where you're going. We know it's approximately here, and then we just kind of navigate through until we find it, and then make sure you're pointed in the right direction before you try to go back to the house. Yeah, that was fun. But now, I wanted to say I was in undergrad when the person that had the little farmhouse out there, when they passed away and the property it's now a neighborhood, but there's a pond right behind our house, and they have these big rocks along the side that we're on. There's like, I want to say there's like 5 to 7 rocks going at the length of it, and it's kind of cool to watch, because you go out there and there's be like, in the warmer months, there'll be anywhere from 1 to 7 turtles on any given rock, and usually they're stacked up on top of each other. Yeah. Oh, and when we moved back up here from Alabama and we're getting the divorce, there was one day, Gidget, she's not paying attention, she's napping. Gidget came in the house, because we have a dog door, and she was looking like she wanted to know where I was at and what I was doing, but she was trying to keep me, she was obviously trying to hide something from me. Which of course made me want to know what it was that much more. And I went over, and I go over to where she's at. Somebody's practicing their driving now. And she has this little turtle, and it's probably the size of a baseball. And she brought it in from outside. I don't know if she'd done a lot of chewing on it, or if somebody else had it before she did, or if she just found it and it had some injuries. I don't think anything too crazy serious. It was pissed. Took it away from her and put it in this plastic container to show Gracie. She was very pissed about it. Yeah, she's definitely practicing driving. But Gidget was pissed that she lost it. So, yeah. And then there was, I think back in April, I went to get ready to take the dogs on a walk. And when we were going out to the car, there was a turtle that was right next to the driver's side door. It's like, well, I always put the dogs in on the driver's side, so it's like, yep, we can't do that this time. So we went over to the passenger side, I got them in, and then I moved the turtle out of the way so I wouldn't run over it, because it was definitely in that line. But yeah, it's like there's just no, don't need you to tell me about it, thank you. Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? But it's like the whole theme of this time right now has been patience, and continuing even when it doesn't look like anything's happening. And obviously I can feel things shifting for myself, and I can kind of see a reflection of that on a larger scale of what's going on with like the collective, as I keep moving forward and making progress. It's just the turtle here lately has been the big theme of this journey is going to take some time. Of course, also think of the tortoise and the hare, and how, it was through his diligence, even though the hare's all, I always think of the Bugs Bunny one that they did, where he's like, he'll go real fast, and then he'll slow down and let the tortoise pass him, and then like speed back up, and then ends up being the tortoise wins because he just kept going and didn't quit. And yeah, it's like, I feel like that's kind of where I am. It's just forward momentum, keep moving. And it's not always easy, obviously, but it's definitely been worth it. So, or I believe it will be worth it. It already has been in a lot of ways, but obviously, like, the big things that I'm expecting to come of anything haven't come about yet, but we'll get there. So yeah. And anyway, we have a little cookout we're gonna do here shortly, so I'm gonna go ahead and call this a day and leave it here for now. So until the next time, as always, I appreciate you, and see you later.